I'm looking for someone to give about me. I'm looking, I'm searching. I'm looking, I'm searching. I'm looking for someone to give about you. I'm looking, I'm searching. I'm looking, I'm searching. I'm looking for someone to give about me. I'm looking, I'm searching. I'm looking, I'm searching. I'm looking for someone to give about you.
It's from the love that's in me. I love the love. I am so grateful for the envy, but yet they still attack me with the envy. They're trying to clog my drain, leave me empty. They say I'm honored every week. I say humbled and grateful, not to feel weak. Let the church speak. I'm on the wall, but they just.
Yo, good morning, everybody. Another episode of Chicago Community Activism Podcast, live from the Brownsville Podcast Studio. Special shout out to the BT Brian Gorman, Chicago Hip Hop Museum, Chicago Hip Hop Heritage Museum, and all of those who do amazing work in the community. The show is built around the work. We do this show on Saturday mornings so that we can share what's happening in the community, share guests that are actively acclimated in the community. Therefore, we can go out and engage, volunteer, support, help out in the community. Today, the brand awareness, indeed. You know what I mean? There's a nice scripture on the back. And, of course, Inglewood branded. Shout out to Corey. Inglewood branded right there in Inglewood, of course. We have a lot of community partners. This is very intentional why we come and do this work on this podcast. Thank you so much, Diverse City and Trek, our sponsors. A little history about Brian Gorman. It's interesting when you go back with someone and then they reach, I like to use the word Sankofa. Sankofa is the word that teaches us to look back so we know where to go forward from. You may have visualized the bird with the neck turning backwards. It comes out of the Ghanaian African word, the Akan people, who saw that the future and the ancestors were so connected that we need to never forget. A lot of times when I'm doing the work in the community, when I say Sankofa, I ask the audience to say remember, because we don't ever want to forget. So moments like these are very important. I dedicate this show to my parents. My father, the late Reverend Dr. Kwame John Porter, who was the first SCLC chapter president for the Dr. King Southern Christian Leadership Conference for Chicago. Did a lot of work in the community of Chicago, particularly in Inglewood. And he had a church there, did a lot of mobilizing there, brought Jeff Ford, Larry Hoover there, Chairman Fred Hampton, Malcolm X. Then he would go on to let Minister Louis Farrakhan utilize his church before they got the mosque on 73rd and Stony Island. So I'm sitting here because of those that have paved the way for me, those that have made it happen, just like right now, we're paving the way for others. And we thank God for our ancestors. Listen, Chicago has so much good happening over the weekend. Man, it was such a full weekend, very engaged weekend. It's always some good things happening. I'm reminded of an open ad piece that I edited for the late, great Philip Jackson. Are we asking schools to do what schools cannot do? A lot of good things happening around Kwanzaa on last week. We celebrate the new year, and the new year has come just so great. I mean, just the reunion of seeing people that you haven't seen and reconnecting. Lots and lots and lots of collaborations happening. Without further ado, our guest in the studio is so amazing. I like to save the bio for the guest so we can get right into it with the guest. The name alone, when I first heard the name, I was like, wow, you know how you ever meet someone but the name precedes them? Then when you meet them, you're like, wow, this is that person. Like, you really live up to your name. Why don't y'all welcome Chicago's own Thought Poet.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you.
I'm really honored to be here.
Man, let's get to it.
Let's do it.
So when I think of thought, I did some research here. I like to see this as an idea of opinion produced by thinking or occurring suddenly in the mind. Poet. I remember you, Lyric Squad, K-Love Phenom, you media, young Chicago authors. And I'm seeing you today, and I'm so excited. And all the collaborations, all the work you do, you really exemplify community. For those who don't know, how did you get that name, Thought Poet?
To be honest with you, it was a real simple play of words. I went to Harlan on 95th in Michigan, so this was like 2006 to 2010, and there was a lot of like violence. There was a lot of just unevenness that was going on back then, and so it was kind of like being original or being yourself. It wasn't even an option. You know what I'm saying? Like you really was getting like harassed if you were trying to be yourself, and so Facebook was becoming a thing. I was like game banging my freshman year, but I was trying to switch it up because that summer of my freshman year, I met Hebrew Brantley. He was my art teacher at Little Black Pro Workshop, and so yeah, you know what I'm saying. So he was one of the people who, kind of saw me even back then and was like, just be yourself. And so going into sophomore year, I'm doing my own thing. I wound up getting into a fight, put someone's head through a lunchroom window, talked myself out of that suspension, and then I got introduced into debate. The African studies teacher, Mr. Pincham, that was at Harlan. He introduced me to debate, which got me introduced to Young Chicago authors,
Thank you,
media.
Mr. Pincham.
Yeah, it's like if
Thank
it wasn't
you.
for him, I wouldn't be alive on some like that whole trajectory really put me into figuring out what my name was creatively, because it really was it was Thought Poet's opinion at first. It was kind of like a Facebook
I
thing,
love
like
it. The opinions and the definition I got.
you know what I'm saying? So it was like, Facebook, everybody was thinking of social media names and all that. So it started from that, and it kind of just started growing as far as like, being a part of True Star Magazine, being a part of
Shout out
After
True
School
Star.
Matters, and yeah, just kind of making my own lane, if you will. So
Listen, you have been making your own lane in such an amazing way. For those who don't know, when you get into your name and then your work, what is community to you? Because when I see you, I see community all over you.
I appreciate it.
Okay?
I think for me, community is something that I'm honestly still figuring out for myself, but I know what it looks like for the surroundings that I'm in. I grew up in Chatham, right across the street from Thule Park, and so I was blessed to see a lot of gatherings in that area. So like my grandma was an artist, so she would do art festivals right up the street at Chicago State.
I love it.
She would go
Shout
to
out
like
Grandma.
Malcolm X College when they still at the old building.
Oh, yeah.
And have the Kwanzaa Fest
Come
and
on,
stuff
every
over
day,
there.
all
So
7 days.
yeah, so it was like I was seeing
I love it.
community as a child, but I still didn't understand it because my family, it's kind of all over the place. So it was like we would be artists, but then we'd go home and then that would be it. And so getting into organizing in like 2015 with like Black Youth Project 100,
BYP.
Black Lives Matter Chicago, Asada's Daughters, the Let Us Breathe Collective. I started learning what does it mean to actually build community, and what does it mean to look at the good, the bad, and the in between, and all of that. And so, for me, community is this growing thing, and it has to be nurtured like daily. You know what I'm saying? And you can tell when it's being neglected. You can tell when people aren't paying attention to it, and you can tell when people are actually showing it attention and showing it the love that it needs. And so I feel like community has always been an evolving concept for me on some like it's never just one thing.
I love it. What an example of community.
Yeah.
I heard you speak recently. You did a amazing mural dedication.
Appreciate it.
Over at Momentum Coffee in Inglewood. Talk about that. Like, what was your inspiration for doing that, and how it connects to community?
So the mural itself was a photo essay called "Throwing Hands with My Shadow Work," and it was kind of a throw on words, like some Chicago words, but even more so, the concept was just creating different scenarios that speak on what it looks like to even like figure out self-preservation and just really doing the work mentally you don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? So really acknowledging to yourself things you don't like about yourself, and really being okay with that. And so the photos themselves are encompassing different artists from the Chicago music scene that have just been doing an amazing job with not just being artists but also being very active in the community. So Stock Marley, Asha Omega, Solar Five, Golden Child,
Come on.
Michael Anthony, DJ Hustlenomics, Mute,
Yeah.
Rhea the Second. All of these artists represent at least 40 years of the Chicago music scene, just because of like who their parents might have been,
Yeah.
who they were when they were younger, like the different organizations they were a part of, and even more importantly, like the work they're doing right now. So the mural unveil, you were able to speak there. Water was able
Thank
to speak
you for
there.
having me. I
No,
was
they,
so
and it was beautiful
gracious.
that you were able to be there. And again, yourself, Water, Stock Marley, others, they have been supporting me specifically with, putting together the new Chicago wave, or not even putting it together, but like just doing our part and, seeing what can collaboration and unity really bring together. And so I think that was the whole point of the mural, and we submitted it for a Pulitzer.
Let's
So
go.
yeah, we,
It's
and
absolutely beautiful.
I
Please give
appreciate
the
it,
address
appreciate it.
for those who
Um,
have not seen the mural, so they can check it out.
what is the address?
Momentum Coffee.
I think it was 2264 West 63rd.
That sounds about it.
But just look up Momentum Coffee.
Yeah, in Inglewood,
Yes,
63rd, yeah.
Please go over there. They have a beautiful barbershop, beautiful boutique in there. I know they got other things, but it's a
Oh, yeah.
beautiful,
It's a
beautiful,
beautiful
space.
space.
Yeah, shout out to Jay West. Shout out
Woo!
to
Jay
that
West.
whole. Shout out
His
Inglewood.
sister with
Yeah.
the clothing store upstairs.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
creative use of space. And in summertime, they do like their own version of the Chosen Few House Music Festival over there.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh, man. Just, how organic everything happened with us being there that morning. And, again, the power of showing up and doing community, as you gave the definition so eloquently. You talked about people that inspire you and your grandma and True Star, your media. I love how you hold history so near and dear to your heart. Being such a young enthusiast, a young activist, organizer, collaborator, that's so important that you connect dots. Who are the people that you aspire to connect with coming into the new year?
You.
Oh, it's done. It's done.
Johnny Smalls, dude is a real genuine spirit,
Oh,
and
man,
he's very
so
realistic
beautiful.
about
Yeah.
the music industry and just like the growth of what we can do to make it better in Chicago. More work with GQ the Teacher,
Of course,
as always. Tony Baines. Definitely
Tony
doing
Baines
more
is
work
dope.
with him. Yeah, man, I told Tony Baines a story of when I was homeless. And he was at the Leader store when it was on Wells Street.
Yep.
And Chance the Rapper had a 5-day mixtape release. And I was telling him how I came in there. I had like maybe $80 to my name. But I really wanted to feel included in what was going on. And so I spent $60. I did not have on the hoodie. But I left out of there feeling so included. And when I told him that story, he was like, bro, I got the picture. Like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And this is like when Chance first started wearing like Leaders Fitteds.
Come on,
You know what I'm saying?
come on.
So that story,
Talking about 10 day.
you know what I'm saying? So, being born and raised from Chicago, like I didn't really know what that meant. I wasn't very proud of that at one point. And so meeting him, knowing who he was and what he means to the Chicago just culture, like that means a lot. And the fact he wants to work with me,
Oh, I love it.
that's really special
Tony
to me on
Banks
some
is
like
a real pioneer.
a legend.
A real dude,
Yeah,
man.
a legend.
I remember seeing him rock at the Bop Shop and at the Elbow Room,
Yeah, he just told me a story.
Fat Joe, and I mean, it was some
Yeah,
crazy stuff
like,
happening. He told you about that?
Yeah, like
Word.
Fat Joe and Big Pun got kicked out of
Yeah.
the space.
Oh, yeah.
And when he told me that, I was like, no, that's Chicago. Like it
Oh,
didn't
no,
even
it's
shock
Chicago.
me on
Oh, yeah.
some like that's kind of how we move.
yeah.
It's like
Oh, yeah.
don't be disrespectful.
Nah,
you know what I'm saying?
nah, we way on the north side.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, but don't pull it.
So
Tony Baines.
but
Shout
yeah,
out to Tony
so,
Baines, man.
Definitely Tony Baines. More work with Solar 5. Shout out Solar 5. Who else am I thinking?
Look, you hosted the Purple Box Show.
Yes.
And if I have never seen Community, I saw Community in such a way. Wow. Talk about that. That was at Sub T.
yeah,
I mean,
so-
we were like sardines. No one could move, but it wasn't like a, excuse me, no, it was like, this is hip hop, and we had community in this space, and there was so many languages spoken, and there was so much love in everyone. Please talk about that.
So 2024 for Chicago was really different when it comes to music, specifically hip hop. And so the Renaissance of the Culture show, shout out The Water, that happened in like February of last year. And it really set the tone for all the shows that took place all last year. So the Purple Box Anniversary show was uplifting APJ Films and his pursuit to uplift Chicago music. You know what I'm saying? And so that lineup was crazy. You had some of the very best on that stage. Actually, there wasn't even just some. Everybody that graced that stage was very just powerful. You had awards given to Pugs Adams, GQ the Teacher. I believe Vic Spencer also got an award. But honestly, for me, that show, it just made me fall more in love with Chicago music. You know what I'm saying? The historian Dilly, he always talks about how everything great comes out of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? And so the music is so, it's such a different conversation on some like, people really don't know that some of the world's greatest musical accomplishments have been somehow inspired from Chicago.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so seeing that space, Muddy Waters, Etta James, Howlin' Wolf, you know, you know what I mean? And so it's like that show. That's right. That show really set the tone for what's about to happen going into the rest of 2025.
Speaking of what's about to happen, you do a lot of talking about the new wave of Chicago. Talk about that.
So, the new Chicago wave really started in 2020, and this was when, you know, you had different communities in Chicago. It's always been like this. You had the music community, you had the organizer community. I dare say you had like the OG community. You know what I'm saying? You had so many community hubs, but they were always separate. You know what I'm saying? And in 2020, when the George Floyd riots were happening, when the mayor at the time was, you know, doing what they were doing, those communities started coming together. You know what I mean? Like I saw artists like Shai Tulani in the streets, you know, protesting. You know what I'm saying? He's a father, you know what I'm saying? He be trying to stay out the way if it ain't about the music. You know what I'm saying? But like I saw so many communities come together, and going into 2021, 22, 23, that community kept growing. So it was like seeing the hip hop scene in Chicago not only be more embracive of other people, but it was just like, it was like the mentality. It was like when I would see these people together, the first thing we would talk about is, man, Chicago don't get enough love. Like we don't get enough love. And the first thing someone would say is, well, we gotta show that love.
That's right.
And so the new Chicago wave has literally been a mentality that's been centered around collaboration and unity. And people like Joel Q, Brittany Carter, GQ the Teacher, myself,
of course,
we really just been pushing the narrative on, you know, if you really care about the future of Chicago, you're a part of the new Chicago wave. So like even conversations, even yesterday, like the drill is dead conversation.
I saw that.
You know what I'm saying? Like that is very tied into what the new Chicago wave is on. When we say drill is dead, it's not saying like, oh, we don't care about the genre. Like it's Chicago. Like drill music is like our little cousin that we don't want to acknowledge, but they right in our face and they love us. We love them. You know what I'm saying? They irritate us, but we love them. You know what I'm saying? And it's like drill is so inspirational. It's an international thing now.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Australia said that they originated drill.
You got
Chicago's
London
like,
saying that they originated drill. You know what I'm saying? But you wouldn't have a Pop Smoke, Rest in Power, without drill. You wouldn't have a Ice Spice without drill.
Shout
and
out
so,
Lero.
you know what I'm saying? And so the goal is to acknowledge the people that have negatively benefited off of talking about the violence that comes from drill music. And again, that comes from the new Chicago wave conversation.
Chicago wave. You've been dropping bars. Let me just retract something
Appreciate it.
Because in the very beginning, you said growing up in the community where you grew up at, people were being harassed for being themselves. I've also seen you speak about therapy and how important that is, and how someone brought you into understanding therapy and making sure that you were okay with it. Please talk about that.
So shout out Came By Deem. In 2023, he put out an album called Reality Raps. And the whole concept was him going to a therapist for the first time. And mind you, Deem doesn't carry himself as like, you know, like some type of like drug dealer or some type of like, person that's in the streets. Like, he's a father, you know what I'm saying? He's a friend, a big brother, and he really just spoke on how therapy is just important, you know what I'm saying? And as Black people, I feel like we're still just accepting that it's okay to go to therapy. Like, you don't got to be one of those families where it's like, well, ain't nothing wrong with you. Like, why you got to go to therapy? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was changing that, you know what I'm saying?
That's
and so, for myself, I started trying to go to therapy more when my grandfather passed. And then I had my breakup. And even more so, I found myself really struggling with how to be in a space like Chicago and not take a break. Because as much as I love my city, as much as I love the work I do, it can get tiring. It can get draining. This music scene, this city scene can be very harmful if you don't know how to really protect yourself.
No, that's real.
You know what I'm saying?
And you said something again earlier, dropping these bars on Community this morning. Thought Poet, for those who just tuned in. You said something about being homeless before.
Yes.
Owning your truth. That's a real situation. I was telling my brother on the way over here, I was up to about 2 o'clock in the morning trying to help a young man find somewhere to go. You know what I mean? Making sure he had some hot tea as he waited to be let into a building where you can get inside the one part. But the air was still coming through, so it was cold. You know what I mean? So I'm like, wow, I almost overslept this morning. Just real talk. You know what I mean? Just because community has to show up. You know what I mean? And for me, community is us showing up for each other, being there for one another. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Making it make sense, when it oftentimes looks like it won't. How can people find you? And what do you need from the community?
So people can find me Facebook, Isaiah Thought Poet Vinay, Instagram, at Thought Poet 77. You can also follow Unsocial Aesthetics, which is my creative agency, where we uplift artists' music from Chicago, and we also help the artists with the artist development process and with creating albums, singles, stuff like that. But I would say one thing I would want from the community is to really learn how to release ego and learn how to really work together.
I love it.
I think that's something, even with myself, I'm still learning on some, I don't know everything. I truly try not to act like I know everything. And I'm here for the growth and development. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for the accountability. And I think the only way that's going to keep happening is if other people decide to move like that as well. And it's not easy. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I feel like that is the biggest thing I can leave with people, especially as we keep going into this year specifically. It's like if we're having difficult conversations that are needed, it's like have the ability to take your ego out of it and be like, what can I do to change things?
I love it. I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
You are so amazing. It went by so fast.
Oh, man.
But you dropped so much information, ego. You know what I'm saying? I was told that's egging God out. So we don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? We want to keep them on that.
Fire. That's
You know
a
what I'm
really
saying?
fire acronym. I'm with it.
You are just such a blessing, such a light.
Appreciate it.
I just want to encourage you. You already know. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you need of me, you know what I'm saying? And the community that I represent, that we represent, it's over with. And I look forward to more collaborations with you. Thank you for having me on your show last week.
Yes.
You are amazing. I can't wait to see everything that comes from this year from you.
Appreciate that so much.
Man, we want to say thank you again, B. Gorman, Diverse City, Bronzeville Podcast Studios, Chicago Hip Hop Heritage Museum, Trek Foundation, that's Trek, TRECC, Nephew Ron Rilla, Jake on the boards today, our previous guest, and our guest today, Thought Poet. And thank all of you who are doing amazing work in the community, who are turning Chicago Community Activism Podcast into something great. Meet us out in the community. Live with Sista Afrika. We are who we've been waiting for. We are we got. We are our own solution.
I'm looking, I'm searching.
I'm looking,
I'm searching.
I'm searching.
I'm looking for someone to give about me. I'm looking, I'm searching. I'm looking, I'm searching. I'm looking for someone to give about you. I'm looking, I'm searching. I'm looking, I'm searching.
I am so grateful for the envy, but yet they still attack me with the envy. They're trying to clog my drain, leave me empty. They say I'm honored every